All right, good evening, everyone. Let me see what's up with this light here. To anyone watching the playback, thanks for coming back and watching. Give me a minute here to pull up my other screen. If anybody pops in, let me know you're here. Say hello. I can also drop the link a little bit later on if anybody wants to put in their 2 cents. Let's see. I was wanting to go live tonight just because I haven't been live in, I don't know, maybe a week. And I was really kind of racking my brain for something to talk about. Kind of run out of things to talk about. And there's not much going on with bees with me right now because it's really cold out there. And then somebody handed me some content on a silver platter with a big bow on TikTok. Saw a little video there. Thought it was interesting. I wanted to respond to it on TikTok, but they don't really give you a lot of time to make a video. Plus, on TikTok, I don't really only do beekeeping, so it's gonna alienate a good 75% of the people that watch my channel over there. But let me pull up my channel over here on YouTube real quick. Oh wait, you know what? Yeah. See some people popping in. How you doing? I have a little bit of a lag going on, it looks like. But let me see if I can find this video. Oh, look at that. There it is. All right, I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to pause this. Sorry, everybody. Let me put that on pause. All right, so the videos that I'm going to be kind of discussing and talking about, they're really short, but there's a lot to them as far as deconstructing things that are said. And I wish the guy that made the videos could have been here tonight, but I sent him a message and he's tied up for a couple days out of town somewhere. He's just too busy, which is fine because it was very short notice. I guess I could have waited a few days, but kind of like for me, when I'm ready to do something, I just want to do it. So I scheduled it for tonight, and maybe he'll watch it and I want to come back on and talk about it, which would be fine with me. Let's see. So let me see if I can add this to the stream. Let me see, Chrome tab. All right, so let me see what this looks like on here. Okay, see if I can make it bigger. All right. So I see there's a couple more people. I'm going to add the link to the comment section here. If anybody that's kind of, I don't know, not a brand new beekeeper, not somebody who kind of knows what they're talking about. Not saying I know what I'm talking about, but who can really talk about this kind of thing, treatment-free beekeeping or things of that nature. They could come in and talk about it. I'm trying to put the link here. It's not letting me. There it is. All right, how you doing, Taylor Fritz? Okay, so here's the video. On TikTok, I try to make, kind of lighthearted videos, some educational. I see a lot of beekeeping videos. Every once in a while, you run across one of these where this particular creator, as you can see there on the screen, the caption says, "When the treatment-free beekeeper asks me why their bees died." So I guess the funny part of this video is the audio that's used on the video, because it's only like 5 seconds. So I'll play it and then pause it right away.
To make people fucking listen to me.
All right. So if I can back that up a little bit. So I had a ton of questions for this TikTok creator. I would be curious how long this particular person has been messing with bees. Have they ever done treatment-free beekeeping? Where did they get this idea? I found it really strange that any treatment-free beekeeper would call what I'm supposing is a treater and ask them anything really about beekeeping, unless they were so brand new. And in that case, I can see a new beekeeper calling, I don't know, they're asking this person, calling this person and saying, why did my bees die? So I guess I would kind of want to know, why would they call this guy? Is he, I don't know much about him. I've never met him, never spoken to him. We just follow each other on TikTok. But I would be really curious why a treatment-free beekeeper who knows what they're doing and who's been doing it for a little while, would, for any reason, contact a treating beekeeper and ask them why their bees died. And then I guess the funny part is the audio that's being used is where he says something about, why won't they listen to me? And you have to think to yourself, listen to you say what? Like, what did you tell them that they didn't listen to you? Did you tell them that they have to treat their bees? Because if that's what you told them, then, and you expected them to do that, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to say, okay, you're going to be a treatment-free beekeeper, but here's what I'm telling you to do is treat your bees. And you didn't listen. If they had listened, they wouldn't have been a treatment-free beekeeper. So there's all kinds of just weird things that don't make sense there. I would never listen to somebody telling me to treat my bees. I'm never going to do it. I never have done it, never will do it. So I had questions, and I left a comment on this video saying, hey, do you want to come on to my live stream and we can discuss this video? Because at that point, this was the only video. And, I didn't get an answer for that, but I guess, I don't know, whatever the reasons are, I'm not worried. What he did was on TikTok, it's different from YouTube. He did a reply to my comment and made an entirely new video as a reply to that comment, which I'm going to play now, but I swear I'm going to have to stop every single sentence and address each sentence, because there's so much to just this like 2-minute little video. It's almost like reading a treater textbook of cliche things to say to treatment-free beekeepers. And I've addressed almost every single one of them many times, but it's always funny to hear it, come from somebody unironically. So let's go ahead and play it.
Listen to me.
Hey, Swarmstead, how's it going? I want to give you a little bit more perspective on this topic because it's not all completely negative.
All right, so let's just take a little breather in between each sentence because I don't want to let it pile up, but he's going to give me some perspective on the video. Never really, if I remember correctly, I've only watched it through one time so far. I don't remember if he actually says anything about the video, but let me let the next sentence play. It says that it's not all negative, so let's see. Maybe it's not.
First of all, honeybees, although not traditional livestock, should be treated like livestock and given the same kind of treatment and medications and care that traditional livestock gets.
Okay, so that there, we've all heard that thousands and millions of times. Honeybees, while not traditional livestock, should, the word should, I always love when people just should you, tell you that you should. I don't know if they're not traditional livestock. They're kind of livestock. They're not domesticated, but they're livestock, and they're also wild. Well, here they're not wild because they're not native, but they're not domesticated whatsoever. They've been deselected to have really negative congenital defects that cause them to die, and to be totally helpless to any type of parasite or pest. But that's just mostly in the commercial area and in the conventional beekeeping world. But let's see what the next sentence has first. Oh, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to say spoiler alert, but the end is the most interesting part of this video.
And regardless whether or not you're living on a homestead or a farm or you keep bees in your backyard, you got to treat them like they're any other living animal.
Okay, so that's the other thing. You just you have to, but there's no real reason why. I guess what's coming up usually is the reason that you have to is to protect everyone else's bees. But so far, I really would have liked to know how much experience is behind the person saying these things, because these are usually said by people that really haven't done it too long. But I could be dead wrong. I don't know. But so far, we have a couple shoulds. Basically, it's kind of like you should do it because, I already know your bees are like your dog or your cat or your child. They're not.
And give them the same kind of care, especially in this day and age when we have the amount of virus loads and pests that can infiltrate the colony and cause just an insane amount of damage. 20, 30, 40 years ago, you could put your bees in your backyard and not touch them.
Okay, so there we go. There's yet another one. 20, 30, 40 years ago. This is another thing that a lot of beekeepers do. They'll talk about the golden era, a time when they probably weren't even born yet. This kind of magical time where everything lived. And then they'll assert that somehow treatment-free beekeeping is the same thing as putting bees in your yard and then never going in them. Is that what he said? Or he said not touching them. Putting them in your yard and not touching them. So there's where it kind of skips over into redefining what treatment-free beekeeping even means. Does it mean putting bees in your yard and never touching them? I mean, no, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. There are some people who just have some bees. Maybe they don't touch them. Maybe they inspect them very little. But it's nowhere near, it's not even a tiny bit the thing to say that treatment-free beekeeping means putting your bees somewhere and never touching them.
All season.
Okay, so never touching them all season. I didn't get to get those last two words in there.
You can't do that anymore. You just simply cannot do that.
I mean, no, you can do that. You can do that. There's bees in people's trees that have been there a long time. There's people who do that, and they can do that. So this is kind of like this is what you'll get at one of those introduction to beekeeping classes where the militant old head beekeeper gets up there, the old treater, and kind of barks in your face, these kind of things. But he's saying it nice and politely. But you actually can do that. If your opinion is that you think it's wrong, That's just an opinion.
And if you do, you're going to have problems, and you're going to give your neighbor beekeepers and the beekeeper down the road, you're going to give them the same kind of problems. So
that I was kind of expecting that. I've heard this yarn thousands of times. It's always the same story. I got a buddy who had bees for a certain amount of time, kept a certain amount of colonies, and then here comes some new person. It's always somebody who gets in the bees, puts them there. It's the same story every time. And then the one time this person doesn't treat their bees, and I guess their bees fly up the road and killed all his bees. It's the same. It's like textbook. I've heard it 1,000 times. It's a story. It's just you ask these people, okay, tell me who the person is. I want to get it from their firsthand experience. They'll never tell you that. It's just the same story that's been repeated so many times. And I can tell you that with the number of colonies that I have, and I treat none of them, and I have a pretty good survival rate and a pretty good cull rate at the same time. I'm not losing all my bees. Also, the same thing they always forget is there's plenty of colonies out there, feral, unmanaged, who are getting no treatments, and they never notice these mite bombs coming and killing all their bees until they have somebody to point at, some guy down there, some imaginary person down the road. And the funny thing is, usually that new person down the road who, if the story was even true, I've heard it so many times, if the story was even true, then that person probably bought commercial bees, probably commercial packaged bees, the ones that have absolutely no defense. So they probably did crash from mites. But the story, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I have colonies that are crashing from mites. They've already been robbed out. They're going to go through winter, and a good, healthy percentage of them are going to survive just fine. And I'll have just the best bees on my yard still alive. So, yeah, it never adds up.
Worked with many commercial beekeepers, especially over the last summer.
Oh, okay. I do remember this part. It starts to get really interesting here. Hold on, I dropped something here. This guy, I guess, so he's done some work with commercial beekeepers. That's kind of okay. I mean, it's a job. I mean, I've probably worked. If you work at a commercial bee yard, you're going to do a bunch of tasks that a commercial beekeeper does. I don't know how that could possibly have any relevance to what a treatment-free operation does, but we'll see. Let's play a little more.
And they always tell me that treatment-free beekeepers are their best customers.
Oof. I love that. That's another story that I've heard. I heard Bob Binney say that one time. He was given a little presentation at some club, and Bob Binney stands up there and goes, exactly what this guy's saying. Treatment-free beekeepers are my best customers, according to Bob Binney, because he'll sell them their bees. Supposedly, according to him, they die, and then these people go back and buy more bees. So that's their favorite customer. They love those people. And it sounds really funny, haha, but when you think about it, it's kind of going a little bit off the subject, but what kind of person does that? What kind of person knows that they're going to, according to them, they're going to sell their livestock to a person who's going to kill it? If I sold puppies and I knew that I was going to sell this puppy to someone and they were going to starve it to death, or they were going to not take care of it and it would die, what kind of person am I if I say that those are my favorite people because they buy puppies off me and they kill them? So I'm laughing about the fact that they're a good customer when they buy puppies from me or kittens, cause them to die. You would think that if you had any type of ethics whatsoever, you would say, you know what, if you're not going to take care of these things the way you should, in my opinion, then I'm not going to sell them to you. But ethics, I guess, in commercial beekeepers' minds, they just don't exist. They don't mind taking money for something that, in their mind, is going to die. I would never suggest anybody buy bees off of commercial beekeepers, but yeah, this story does check out. I heard Bob Binney say it, but let's see. Maybe there's more to it.
Because they are simply the return customers. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship with them because they come back to buy bees every year, but they're also going around and they're not treating their bees. They're not giving them the right medications. They're not treating for varroa. And you have your colony, eventually the virus load in that colony gets to a point where either that colony is going to die or it's going to abscond. And then when it absconds, it's going to drift into everyone else's colonies around that area. And
yeah, so typical, mite bomb theory. We've heard all this. I already explained it. It still does, kind of seem funny to me that he said year after year they just keep selling people bees, knowing that they're going to die. It's problematic, but the mite bomb theory, it just doesn't really hold water. It doesn't hold water. I really would like to get this guy on to try to answer some of these questions.
And it's going to be bringing that deformed wing virus, the high mite loads, all the diseases associated with varroa mite.
So here I'll just take this opportunity to repeat again. For people who, whether they bought bees or if they catch swarms or something, the bees can survive on their own. They've demonstrated that for many years. They've demonstrated that for me, for many people that I know, for thousands of people that I don't know. If you want to keep bees without treating and they happen to die, that doesn't really say anything about you as a person. That tells you what the quality of bees are that you have. So if you're buying bees from someone like Bob Binney or whoever this guy knows, and they become exactly like he said, like completely overloaded with mites and pests and diseases in one season, that's pretty bad. One season. That speaks to the quality of the bees that you're selling. And I'd be interested to know what this beekeeper or his commercial beekeeping employer, what are they doing to help that situation out? I'd like to ask this person the same question I asked the last person. Where does the treating stop? What would happen if no one treated? Are we just supposed to stay on this, or are you guys all supposed to just stay on this addiction to treatments forever, for eternity? I don't want to. And someone like myself, such a small person as far as beekeeping, I'm not going to make a big difference in the genome or the species of honeybees by myself, but with many people doing it, there still is a contribution, no matter how small. There's a little bit of moving forward. These whole treatment operations and treatment beekeepers, they're all going backwards. Backwards really fast. Let's see.
So that's my main issue with treatment-free beekeepers. Do what you want. Do what you want. They're your animal, but that's my big issue. So you're not helping the bee population.
Oof. Okay. Oof. No, yeah, I am helping them. If you're talking about the numbers of bees, first of all, bees aren't in any trouble. They don't need their population exploded. And commercial beekeepers always have enough bees to do what they need to do and stock all the bee people every year who want to buy bees. So the bee population itself is not in trouble. Everybody knows that. Now, if you're saying, am I helping the bee as a species? I just got finished saying that it's a small contribution when you just look at each individual person, but there's many of us. And I know that my area where I keep my bees and at least a mile or two around it are better because of what I do. Even if somebody's bringing in garbage package bees, at least if they're splitting and mating queens, they're mating with quite a population of hardy survivor bees. So at least their genetics are being improved. They're not helping me any. No treater is helping the bees at all. All they're doing is helping their bank account because they're greedy. They can't sustain any type of loss. They want to hold on to every dollar that they can because bees are money to them.
By not treating your honeybees. Now, with that being said, I think the most innovation in terms of coming up with a cure for this varroa mite is going to come from the treatment-free community.
Oof. Wow. Like, do I even have to say anything about that? Usually most beekeepers will follow this up with, because I don't remember, I watched this video once. He might have even said it, but they'll follow that very true statement that he just said with, yeah, but it's going to be the researchers and these special people at universities doing selective breeding. They're the ones who are going to do it because somehow their selection is better than the real selection out in the actual elements, out there on the ground. So at universities and in labs, instrumental insemination doers, they have these special powers to do selection better than nature itself. But what he said there is true. That's why I don't understand the whole first part of this video. Dream-free beekeepers do this, they do that, they harm this, they harm that. Commercial beekeepers love them because they kill all these bees, but the innovation is going to come from them. So it's very contradictory. My jaw dropped when I heard that part.
I think through selective breeding programs and science and research, they're going to come up with a honeybee that is able to cope with this deadly parasite.
Okay, so there was a lot of like editing going on in there. I think there were some words taken out, but the sentence worked, and it fulfilled exactly what I knew was going to come, which was basically the researchers, the breeders, they know what they're doing. That they're going to come up with a bee that can cope. And here's what I would say to that. Think of all the bee researchers you know. I mean, off the top of my head, a bunch of them have YouTube channels. And here's a news flash. None of them are keeping bees without treatments. 0 of them. All research in beekeeping and mite studies and selection, that all involves coming up with new treatments. If you can find me some program where they're strictly being, keeping bees without treatments, without brood breaks, some of them are just flat out using oxalic acid, and all they're doing is, freezing brood and using weird testing. None of them are just letting bees die, like letting the weak ones die. They're not letting them fight, which is what I say. I let them fight, and sometimes they do die. But yeah, I'd love to hear who one of these researchers are who's coming up with a resilient survivor bee, because so far the only people that I know who have a good claim to doing that have been apiaries, like actual apiaries that operate and sell bees and queens. Some of them I've heard. I've never gotten bees from them, but I've heard a lot of good things about a few apiaries. Yeah, it's not the researchers doing it. It's actual beekeepers. It's actual treatment-free operations, way bigger than mine. So yeah, that's bunk.
Anyways, there's a lot more I can say on this topic that I cannot say in 3 minutes, so I can make a part 2 of this.
Okay. There's really not too much more that could be said. This creator pretty much covered all the normal things we've heard 1,000 times. The mite bomb theory, the joke about the commercial beekeepers loving treatment-free beekeepers. That one's I'm just gonna have to throw that in every commercial, every commercial beekeeper that gets his butt kissed. That's such a terrible thing to say. I'm gonna have to find that clip where Bob Benny gets a really nice laugh out of it. I'd like to hear maybe what he thinks about the ethics of that. If bees are your puppies and they're your little kittens and they're your children, how would you sell them into a certain death? Why wouldn't they have some kind of code, some type of morals that say, you know what? Hey, you want to buy these bees? Do you treat your bees? No? Okay, I can't sell them to you because I have higher morals than that. They don't. So yeah, that was that. If anybody wants to come in and hear, let me see. Sometimes I don't know if this YouTube thing's working. Let me see if my comments are working. Sorry about that. Let me just pause that. Yeah. Huh. All right, cool. So I got 8 people in here. No one's commenting. If there's anybody here watching from Facebook who is probably watching and can't figure out how to comment, you would have to get out of the Facebook link and go to your actual YouTube or Gmail, or what do you call it, your Google account, and you'd have to log in. Then you can be right here in the comment section, either tearing me a new one or putting in your 2 cents. If there's anything anyone else wants to talk about, I could play those videos again just because I feel like I should let the second one kind of run. But we've heard it all. Yeah.
Stock gets.
Sorry.
And regardless whether or not,
I'll just have to see if I can have him on. He said he'll be back in a few days. Maybe you can watch this one. Hopefully I wasn't too insulting, but I just hear it so much. It's like burnout from hearing it. So I don't really give any of those points or any of those positions any type of respect because they don't deserve any. Now, hopefully, he's been keeping bees for 15 years, has 200 colonies, did treatment free supposedly for a long time. It didn't work. I hope that that's the case. I hope that it's not, I've only had bees for 2 seasons. Never been treatment free. You never know. How you doing, Taylor Fritz? What's up, Lyndon Cachetta? How are them bees doing? I'm going to close this up here. Remove. How do I get rid of it? All right. Are there any other YouTube videos anyone's seen that maybe could use a good review? I'm seeing quite a few that are pretty funny, but I really want someone to suggest to me some videos. There was one I was watching earlier. All right, so Lyndon Cachetta has 12 going into winter. Yeah, Lyndon got some good bees. Got the good ones. See, for me, I couldn't imagine selling bees to somebody knowing that they're going to kill them. And I've had people come to get bees and show up and didn't even know like what a frame was, didn't know what they were going to do, and I didn't sell them bees. I wouldn't do it. I don't need the money that bad. I'll tell them like read a book or something, like come hang out and work some bees a little bit. You're not getting bees from me. They just don't have that kind of, I don't know. We're not made of the same stuff. So come on, who's in here? We got 8 people in here. I could play a minute of a video. Okay, so here's the story. I'm on Facebook earlier today. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna move YouTube over here. I'm on Facebook and I was talking to somebody who. Hold on, 1 second. Okay, so on the post that I left up there, I don't know, a week or 2 ago, saying, hey, who wants to come on and talk about bees? People were suggesting things to me. Or suggesting people to me. And one of the people that they suggested to me was Kirk Webster. Kirk Webster, who earlier, like, years ago, I read a bunch of stuff on Kirk Webster's site and I was kind of blown away. I said, wow, man, here's another cool dude that really keeps them bees treatment free. And he said all the right things in the website, but I was really confused about this video that I saw. Where is it? I'm only going to play like the first minute because that's all you really need. And I could be dead wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I feel like what I heard in this video made me think maybe he's not a treatment-free beekeeper. Which is perfectly fine. I don't care who treats their bees and who doesn't. I just don't agree with people parading as one thing and being something else. It's like if you treat your bees, just admit it. You don't have to be ashamed of it. Yeah, don't be ashamed of it. Just be like the guy whose video we just watched, which is, he says, yeah, he treats his bees, but he knows that the innovation of genetics and the only way we're going to ever get to a point where people don't have to use treatments is by not treating bees. The treatment-free beekeepers are going to do it. Of course, the treating beekeepers are going to ruin that because they're always going to be so greedy to keep as many bees alive as they can that they're just going to continually and repeatedly deselect their bees for any type of mite resistance. So maybe they'll do good for a little while. They'll start to lose some colonies and then they'll start treating again. We'll be right back at square one, or at least they will be. So here was an interview that I watched a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, and it's with Andrew, and it's an interview about just whatever, just normal interview with this person, and they're talking about how they worked with somebody who was working with Kirk Webster. So in the first minute, what I hear is these proteges of Kirk Webster, they do brood breaking, like strategic brood breaking to control mites. That's what I hear. But I don't know. Let's just play it.
Northeast, you need to receive your bees and start caretaking for them in the either in the early spring or the late spring. So I'd far surpassed that. Came here from the tropics, didn't account for the seasons thing. But what that let me do is sort of root down and find a community that was beekeeping where I was, which was Boston at the time. And I found a mentor named Jean-Claude Barut. He's from France, and Jean-Claude kept bees and did some studying with Kirk Webster. So he was treatment-free, but not stupid, as we like to as Sam Comfortive and I have joked. So he did a lot of manipulation of the hives, a lot of brood breaks, strategic brood breaks, and kept his mite levels down in that way.
Okay.
Did some mostly open.
So that's it. That's really all I got to hear. That's how they kept their mite levels down, by strategic brood breaks. And somewhere later in the video, I'll have to watch it again, but they really repeat that again. Brood break, a lot of brood breaks. So to use brood breaks to keep your mite levels down, as they said, it's treating your bees. So I don't care who does it. If even though Kirk Webster's obviously way more respected in beekeeping than anybody really. I mean, a lot of people. If that's what Kirk does and teaches his students to do, it's just not treatment-free beekeeping. It may be miticide-free beekeeping, but it's not treatment-free beekeeping. It's keeping bees, controlling mites with brood breaks. So somebody on Facebook was trying to tell me, oh, well, he splits and adds queen cells. Well, of course, that's what a lot of people do. No one calls that a treatment to make splits. You make splits, you could add a queen or a queen cell or whatever the hell you do. It doesn't matter. It's just beekeeping. But what they were talking about there was strategic brood breaks to keep mite levels down. That's a whole different animal, which is perfectly fine. No one cares. I don't care. It's just not treatment-free beekeeping. So there's that. Let me see. The one video I linked the other day was a hoot. Which one was that? Which one did I link? Are you talking about in the Facebook group? I wonder, was that an interview? Or was that might have been one where I chopped up some other channels that are just terrible. You have to be more specific because I kind of think everything I do is a hoot. All right, well, we're coming up on 43 minutes. I think I pretty much said everything I have to say about the TikTok video. I'm still gonna have to make a response on TikTok. I can't let my people just think that that I just let videos like that. I mean, you're free to make whatever videos you want, but sometimes they just deserve a response, especially if it's misinformation. So it is misinformation. Bringing bees, going on. Oh, okay. Wow, did I even? Oh, hold on. Hold the hell on. I forgot all about that. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Yeah, what the heck's his name? I should have linked him in this title. Maybe he would have showed up. Peaceful Mind Beekeeping. Peaceful Mind, that channel, that piece of shit channel. He's back. That narcissist could not stand being out of the spotlight. He said he quit YouTube. That was his last video. He made a video declaring that's my last video. I'm done with this. Went on to make 2 more videos after that, just because he's so dumb that he has his bees all stupid the way he has them set up, and a tree fell on him, knocked a bunch down. So he tried to turn that around and belittle his audience by saying, how lazy everyone was. Let me look that channel up right now because I'll look it up. Hold on, where is that? Yeah, so he took that opportunity to come back momentarily, use his own stupidity to try to make his viewers feel small. It's kind of funny. It's like, look at this big mess that I caused, and you guys watching are a bunch of pieces of shit. Yeah, he's terrible. I wouldn't, as terrible as he is, he's not the worst channel on YouTube, but let's look him up. Peaceful Mind Beekeeping. There he is. Oh, let's find this channel here. Thanks for reminding me about this because, yeah, this dude is a... Oh, no. Did he make another video? Oh, okay, yeah. What's up, Rodney Middleton? How you doing? Oh, man, you missed the first part, but it was pretty great. Today, now, thank goodness here to Lyndon Cashetta. He reminded me of peaceful mind beekeeping. Now, the reason I really grind this dude up a lot is because he doesn't allow commenting on his videos. So I can't tell him in the comments that he's a coward or that his beekeeping is terrible or that everything he says is a joke. I can't tell him. And when I do find his comments on other people's videos, I've only ever found, I think, 3 comments. He always leaves a terrible, mean comment telling whoever in the video how stupid they are. Always leaves the most just vitriolic comments. So I always reply to those comments when I find them. Turn on your comments, you coward. And he never replies. Let's see. So here we can see. Here's where we quit beekeeping, okay? Let me blow this up. I think I've already responded to this video, but here's where he says he's quitting beekeeping.
Why this is my last video that I'm going to do. I made a video a couple days ago about a queen in this colony that's been bald, and I killed that queen. And I was videoing me looking through the medium for another queen.
All right, so I'm not going to play that whole video, but if I remember, the reason he was quitting back then when he quit was because he can't keep making these videos with one hand. I mean, that doesn't stop a bunch of other terrible channels that make videos with one hand, but he couldn't do it anymore. His ingenious brain could not figure out a way to make a tripod or just to prop his phone on something or to just tape it to a shovel like I used to do. I used to tape my phone to a shovel and stick the shovel in the ground. That's how I made my first bunch of videos. That was my tripod. But him and his genius ways was too dumb to figure that out. So he just took the next best choice, which was just to quit YouTube. Imagine that. So that's when he quit. He went on to make this video. Let's see, where is it? Let's pause this, make it big. We'll play the first minute or so.
Said I'd never make a video and put it on YouTube channel again. Well, shit happens. At the end of the day yesterday, we had a storm. And I was doing an electrical job this morning in the area. So I thought I'd stop and check, see how my bees were. And I figured these people would let me know if anything had happened to them. But they have their own issues over at their house. They weren't really worried about my honeybees. So it was strong enough that it moved that hive.
Yeah, so you see how that works? It's like, I don't think it's funny that somebody's bees get knocked over or anything like that. That sucks. So if he wasn't such a absolute jerk off, if this happened to anybody I know or even anybody I didn't really care for, I wouldn't find anything funny about it. I mean, it happened, during the warm part of the year, so it wasn't really a big deal. So I don't find that funny. I just find it ironic that such a genius came back to YouTube just to use this video as some kind of way to like insult his viewers. Oh yeah, I definitely taped my phone to shovels before. So then there was that one, but let me go back here, see if I can. So then the second part of that.
What?
Sorry, I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just laughing at him.
Now I got the mess cleaned up. How much damage was done in this storm? That deep there, I could probably make a medium out of that. One deep destroyed. 10 frames in that deep destroyed. 2 outer covers. 2 hive covers. 2 shims. 7 bottom screens. And an inner cover. And the hive.
Yeah. Maybe someday I'll watch those again and try to really find the parts where he really turns on the people watching. You know, he could just say, "Hey, look at what happened, man. This sucks." You know, set up your tripod and then say, "Here's how I'm gonna fix it. Here's how I'm gonna try to prevent this from happening." I don't know. Maybe do like Rodney Middleton does and strap your damn hives down. You know, like what? This dude's a genius. He doesn't strap his hives down. I strap mine down. I strap them all together. Only the ones that I know are never going to feel any wind. They still have bricks on top. And I don't have bears or anything here, but so back to this guy. So then he disappeared for a couple months. No, it looks like he disappeared for 6 weeks. So we'll watch more of this one because it's really bad. He's a really bad person, I think. I think he would just, I mean, if anybody thinks I'm miserable to be around, this guy out miserables me. And I try to never talk down to people like this unless they give me a reason to. But here, I don't see, here's my thing about this channel is he never really does any real beekeeping. All he does is, this is just a vlog, really. He tells you the things that he does. None of his colonies ever really look that strong when he opens them up. He does all kinds of weird little things that you'll see here where he pushes little cubes of sugar through a hole in the hive. I've never seen anyone do that. He'll basically look through them all winter, and then if one of them looks a little small, it sounds like what he says is he takes them all into the house and then brings them all back out. Mm-hmm. Like he really takes them into the house, brings them back out, and they're in there so tight together. It's just the strangest obsession with these bees that he has. Let's play a little bit. Let's enjoy this.
Hey, it just occurred to me. I've been trying to wake you guys up, trying to let you know what's going on. It's the same with honeybees. It's not the varroa mites causing most of the problem. It's the toxic chemicals the crop farmers keep spraying. And I'm getting irritated. You guys don't seem to pick up on what I'm saying. And I come to realize...
Wait a second. How would he even know that we're not coming around to what he's saying? He doesn't even allow comments. He's just kind of by himself. He does no interaction with anyone. I don't know who he's watching. His subscription list is public, so you can see all the really weird channels that he subscribes to. Really weird shit, like strange stuff. And there's no beekeeping channel. He subscribes to 0 beekeeping channels, so I don't know what videos he's watching, who he's talking about. Really weird. He needs to come on my live stream.
Sometimes you don't know you've been fucked until you wake up in the morning, and you guys haven't woken up yet. Like you beekeepers that want to put fondant in your hive. Corn syrup is poisonous to bees. This right here is domino cane sugar. I have a video on showing how I make this. There's a shim here in the center of the hive. You don't want your bees up here. A lot of beekeepers put their sugar at the top. Do you really want your bees at the top of the hive? You want your queen to lay up here? As much as possible, you want your queen to lay down here. So I try to keep my queen down as low as I can. I put the sugar that...
You know what? That might be the most intelligent thing he's ever said, ever, that I've ever seen him do or say on this channel. I've never used fondant before, never done it. I've never used a sugar block before, so I don't really know, but it does always seem like a bad idea to put it on early in the winter, like I'm seeing all these people do. They have fondant on already, and they're in warmer climates than me, so they are really pulling all their bees up to the top. So that is strange. If it gets, I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know. But this weird pushing sugar cubes or sugar crystals through his little hole. Like, what's in that top box? Is there nothing in that? I don't know. Let's watch some more.
There, and I go through it early in the morning with a LED flashlight, and I can check the size of the cluster. And for you guys that have been following me for a long time, 120 had a hard time coming into summer. We had a short spring. It was late. They never made any honey for me. As far as I know, it's the same queen. And it's really small. And I will be bringing them in. See how small they are? I have a book that says you should kill queens and small colonies and combine them, but no, I'll bring them in. Let's see if I can get that queen to last another year.
Yeah, that's I don't know. What do you say to that? I mean, that one actually didn't look that bad, really, compared to all the other ones I've seen them open up. It didn't really look that bad, but if you have a queen, I mean, even I know that if you have a queen that's just totally doing terrible and you have time to do something, he's just gonna keep weird queens like that aren't doing. I mean, I don't like killing queens that overwinter. That's like what I want. This whole dumb idea of just requeening all the time with bought queens, yeah, that's commercial beekeeping behavior. That's not what somebody who's trying to select for good survival does. Because what are you starting over every time you buy some shitty queen from Georgia? So I can see kind of trying to maintain your genetics, but so at the beginning he says it's not the mites that are killing the bees. Well, if it's not the mites that are killing the bees, then why are you treating all these bees all the time? You got a friggin' probably. You see the way he was putting stuff in there. Let's see. We're gonna suffer through this.
I don't know. I just have a hard time killing queens. So let me. I'm gonna be putting sugar in here. It's last day of October. We have 2 more weeks of warm weather. Then we're supposed to have a very cold winter, polar vortexes and such. I'll show you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is this a beekeeping video? What is this? It's just a weird vlog is all it is. It reminds me of some other channels where they don't really show you anything. A lot of my videos, I don't show you anything either, but at least I talk about stuff. I don't know. He just grumpily tells you about how he stumbles through his days. Let me just scoot this along a little bit. I don't want to hear about his stupid ass dogs. He talks about his dogs and about how he was fat and then he got in shape. I don't know. Who knows?
A 10 by 20 shed is just not cutting it. I spent too much time moving stuff out to get to stuff that's behind it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not very efficient. I lose a lot of time and a lot of energy doing this.
You take a gander at that. I mean, that's a ton of equipment for. I mean, he only has 100 and something colonies. I think he says like 120. Why do you need that many boxes? That's like the most bees he's ever had is 120. So, god damn, why does he need so many boxes and so many bottom boards? Like, I understand you. Oh, I always have way too much equipment also, but holy shit, that's a lot. That makes me look like Like I have nothing, and I have a lot too. But look at the weird. To me, it's weird because I'm kind of sloppy and I'm not super organized. But that's almost like kind of obsessive there. I don't know.
So what I've done is I started working on a project.
All right, so I'm not gonna hear about this. I'm not gonna go through this part. He's taking his house apart to make a bigger barn or bigger storage area. What I want to play is the end, was the part that Lyndon was talking about earlier. I'm going to go through all this, blah, blah, blah. He's talking about his house. Oh, here, let's hear. He's talking about bees here. He says some really goofy stuff here, too. I think he gets lit up, too.
All my colonies a couple of weeks ago. And then I had some colonies that I left here that were smaller than the rest of them. Not a good idea. All my small colonies should have been left away from my large colonies, because this colony here, see when you have bees trying to get in like that, they're robbers. So the only hole that's left on here is a shim. So when I get robbing, I shove a screen up in there to keep the robbers out. And I'm not even sure if that colony's any.
Yeah, when you get, that's robbing. Like that colony's getting robbed out. They're done. They're dead. It took me long enough, but now it's clear. When you go to a colony and they're getting robbed, they're done. They've been dead every single time. Or they're just on the verge of being dead. But he thinks by plugging it up, it's going to somehow stop the robbers. No, they're going to move. Look at how close all those hives are together. They're on top of each other, 2 inches away. It's just going to become a big feeding station.
Good anymore. What I had planned on doing was, when it gets really cold, I was going to put up an insulated wall right here and insulate both ends and have row can lights down here through here so I could see with red light. And if a colony got too small to handle even the temperatures, it should be warmer in here, I was going to bring them in. But I don't know. It's the hard thing is keeping a small colony through winter. I tried last year with over 100 colonies, and I lost a lot of them.
Okay, so he always talks about how he's better than he'll say it at the end. He'll flat out say, "I'm better than all you people." But he's talking about losing a lot of bees. Like, he's taking them in the house. He's nursing the shittiest, weakest colonies ever, taking them in the house. And then he loses a bunch of them. So it doesn't make sense to say you're better than everybody. You're the best beekeeper. Everybody's just stupid. And then you just lose a ton of bees. And he only has 125 colonies. I've had that many. It's a lot for me, for one person, but that's nothing for some people. If I can handle it, and I didn't have as many die as he's talking about.
If you make a colony and it's not so small, they can fight off the robbers, then you don't have to worry about it. But when they get small, the robbers take over and they'll wipe that colony out. I lost 17 colonies or 16 colonies last fall from robbing. And so far, I haven't lost too many this fall. But again, it's going to be getting cold here in a couple.
Wait, you don't lose colonies from robbing. They're dead, and then they just get robbed out. You lost them. They already died. So for someone this obsessed with having so many bees, getting in them every morning, he's talking about checking them with a light, taking them in and out of the house. I didn't do any of that stuff. I might never look at any of my bees again until April. Man, how would a queenless or some type of bad situation even slip by this guy? I don't know.
Weeks, and this is what's left of my honey. What I did was all these frames of honey that I've made all summer long, I went through and made sure every hive have honey. Because last winter, what I did, and it was really stupid, was I took the medium away and put in frames of honey in the deep, and a lot of them ran out of honey around the end of December, early January. And the number of colonies that I had in that room, they were stacked on top of each other, 2 tiers, and I couldn't get to them on a daily basis to know what was going on. I had one colony, it was a
Wow. On a daily basis, he has to get through them bees. All right, let me skip ahead. I want to get to the good part before I end this because I got to get to bed. Let's see. We'll play the last, what is this? We'll play the last, play the last 2 minutes, and then I'll end this thing.
1,000 views, and people are watching him, and they're going to be disappointed with the results. They plug this hole up here and just leave this shim.
They start lighting them up.
Leave the shim for the air to come out, and leave a little hole down here for air to go up through. It's all about ventilating your hive during winter. You don't want moisture in your hive. It's a bad idea. It condensates and turns into water and gets your bees wet. So Vinyl Farm is a dumbass. Hey.
That's funny. I love the way he says Vinyl Farm. That shit just cracks me up. But talking about ventilation and keeping your bees dry, that's so like common knowledge. Nobody sits around and thinks it's a good thing for your bees to get all wet. That's just, you're saying nothing when someone says that. I'm calling Vinyl Farms, whatever he wants to call them. I think that channel's garbage too, but at least he has his comments on, at least he'll take criticism. And this clown here comments on Vinyl Farms videos. That's the main place where I've found his comments.
It's the truth, okay? If you guys are following him, he's got over, I don't know how many subscribers, but most of his videos get 30,000 views, and people are watching him, and they're going to be disappointed with the results they have. Super insulating a hive and closing off the top. What a moron. If you can keep the wind from blowing through your hives, you don't want cold air blowing up into your hive and blowing and cooling those bees off. If you keep the air from blowing into the hive, they can keep themselves warm. And this here's a super large colony that still had brood when I was trying to downsize them. I just finished up doing my acrylic acid a few days ago. And some of these hives, like this one here, was too much brood. This one here, it didn't have enough honey down here. And at the time, I didn't have the time to take frames to put them down. So I'm going to be doing that. This is a brand new colony this year. That's why they look small. The new colonies you have to keep an eye on. They may not have gotten large enough to winter outside. So that's why I'm better than the rest of you. I go through every morning when it's really, really cold, and I will check the size of my cluster. And many times do I find a cluster that's been chilled, they're not moving, and I bring them in and I save their life. You guys just sit on your ass all fucking winter long, and you expect to have bees left over in the spring. You're not going to have as many left over in the spring as I have. And you guys are getting fucked by the government. But you haven't woken up yet to realize you've been fucked, okay?
Oof.
So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh man, I love that sign off. Yeah, that's the peaceful mind right there. Peaceful mind beekeeping. If he ever turns his comments on, it's gonna be from me. What you guys should do is, after I sign off here, in the comment section, you should type @peaceful mind. That'll send him a notification that somebody mentioned him in my comments. Maybe that'll have him watch the end. Yeah, I mean, he's probably right about that, but about the government. But this ain't a government channel, so I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, he's better than everybody. I didn't really notice any beekeeping in that video. Just basically his grumbly things that he does. checks his clusters every day, every single day. 100 or so connies is going through there every day. I don't know how he does it. So then if he pops the lid, pops the inner cover, whatever, pulls the boxes apart, and if it's small, takes them into the house until they're warm and then brings them back out. Yeah, there's a sickness going on there. I don't have that sickness, but all right. So I've been here an hour, 10 minutes. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me. I'm gonna hit the sack and get to work in the morning. And have a good day. Take care.